If you want adventure in your life, uncertainty, and the thrill of the unknown, head west, young man. And if you want those things in iRacing, well, plop the Lotus 49 at Laguna Seca. This California staple of road racing has seen the greats of American open wheels and sports cars pound around its pavement for well over half a century. And today we'll find out who can conquer the infamous dry lake bed as we get ready to watch round one of the Lotus 49 World Cup. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Johan Vandenbelt. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Ducky Beard. Johan, with Laguna Seca being free content on iRacing, it's familiar to most of our iRacers out there, but for our viewers who haven't had a go at the track, why don't you tell us about it?
Yeah, Joe. Laguna Seca, or Dry Lagoon for the people who don't speak Spanish, has been used for auto and motorcycle races for over half a century. The circuit was built in 1957 in Monterey County, California, and hosts 2.2 miles or 3.6 kilometers of asphalt. Now, as you just mentioned, Joe, the track is free in iRacing, so most people will recognize it from racing there themselves or from real-life racing on television. And one of the key characteristics of Laguna Seca is its elevation change, as the circuit rises and falls 180 feet or 55 meters. Now, this elevation is most visible in the signature turn of the track, the downhill plunging corkscrew. But the circuit hosts a lot more tricky corners, like turn 6 going onto rail straight, rainy curve just after the corkscrew, or the double apex Andretti hairpin at the beginning of the circuit. Combine this with bending straights and our drivers will certainly be up for a challenge today. The drivers will lap Laguna Seca 24 times, trying to score the first win of the Lotus 49 season. And to see how to tackle this tricky track, let's hop on board our GSRC Lotus 49 for one lap around Laguna Seca.
Alright, we're in the GSRC Lotus 49, so let's do a lap around Laguna Seca. Turn 1 is actually a turn in this car. You need a big lift to get over the hump, but make sure to keep it planted so that you can confidently get on the brakes down into the end ready hairpin. It'll be very easy to lose the rear under braking, or just come in too hot and slide wide. Square off the exit and then try to get the car off to the left for the entry to turn 3. After that, you've got a short burst to turn 4, which will need a dab of the brakes. This is a corner where it'll pay off to be able to get to the power early. Anyone who can't find traction will be susceptible down into turn 5, where passes are likely to be attempted. But this uphill bend will punish your lap times if you don't keep it tucked in nicely to the apex. Once again, get on the gas as soon as you can to keep your momentum uphill. Then, the treacherous turn 6 needs a big stomp of the brakes, a smooth turn in, and a prayer. Since we're still trudging uphill, you guessed it, get onto the power quickly. Be wary of the car breaking loose on this climb though. Set up to the left and brake super early to get it woed up over the blind crest into the corkscrew. The compression at the bottom allows you to put your right foot down sooner than you'd expect, but you don't get much of it. Rainy curve needs a big lift to get the nose to tuck in the late apex. Then switch sides and slow it up for turn 10. Another corner with lots of banking, it pays to keep it all the way to the inside. Then you've got your last good chance for a pass, the final hairpin. Ideally though, you'll want to make sure and not sacrifice your corner exit because of the very quick front stretch. Hopefully you kept it all together and have finished a lap around Laguna Seca. There's a lap around Laguna Seca in sunnier conditions, overcast out there today, which might not be good for fans hoping for pictures, but certainly good for grip on the circuit. Now, this is round 1 of Season 2, but let's recap on Season 1 and how that one closed up at the end. Mick Claridge, of course, we already knew, took the win, but Michel Dudignon beat Ove Trangarade just barely with a pass on the last corner of the last lap, or on the last lap, I should say. It wasn't on the last corner, to solidify that second place in the championship. Billy Bob Wright was in a nice fight as well with Enzo Canta. They finished 4th and 5th, rounding those guys out. Now, as we see a little bit of a spin there on track, let's take a look at the Constructors' Championship and how that wound up. Johan, what do the points look like over there?
Yeah, the United Kingdom was victorious last season with a 97 point, edging out the United States, who was 11 points behind. Dudignon and Michael Thomas got P3 for France, keeping Europe a little bit strong in front of the solo effort of Ove Trangarade. Very strong all alone in P4. Finland finished P5, 40 points behind the United Kingdom, and surely looking for a slightly better result at the end of this one.
Qualifying is happening right now, and we see Tommy Unhola is the first to get a lap in, but we believe that's going to change as Richard Morin goes faster than him, and drivers continue to come across the line. Although we're not getting anybody else. Oh, there's Ove Trangarade, one of our known fast guys. He's beat by Michael Thomas. He has improved a lot in recent races. So he gets himself up to the front, but you can see he missed the first apex there, so this second lap probably not going to be faster for him. Waiting to see guys like Dudignon and Claridge on their first lap, and sure enough, Claridge goes fastest with a 19.5. Well, as we wait for a few more of those lap times to cycle in, let's familiarize our viewers with the racing this season, with the race details, because different scoring this season. We are on round 1, and we have 24 laps today, as Johan mentioned, and this is an open setup series being in official iRacing race. Now, the scoring for the championship this season is only on the GSRC races that we're broadcasting, and instead they're scoring 40 for P1. There you can see they dropped down a little bit, not very much for the top points. So they're going for consistency this season. Now here's where it gets interesting. What's not marked on here is there is a Formula 2 championship. They're still racing the same cars, obviously, but the Formula 2 cars are for drivers of an I rating of 25,000 or below, and drivers who've had a good race last season, or good finish in the championship last season, are automatically bumped up to the F1 championship, even if they do have a low I rating. As we ride on board with Dudignon, he did manage to get a lap in, but it was slower than Claridge, and that's actually been bumped down to 3rd since then. And he's coming to finish this second lap. They only get 2 laps that count here, Johan, so This is all or nothing at this point.
Yeah, especially, but over train rate is sitting at P1, very good. But he's getting, as I speak, pushed off P1 by Michel Dunion, who got a 1:19.3. It's a blistering time, puts him on pole. Now, I have been looking a little bit in practice, and if I'm a betting man, I'm not a betting man, but if I were, I would put my coins on Michel Dunion, because he had a good pace today. He was very strong also over the longer stints. So the fact that he can also put it on pole, man, that's surely the driver to beat personally for me today.
Yeah, we'll leave the betting to Bill Zahn. As we were watching Kaijinen, who's returned, and he's sitting in 4th. He's coming to finish his 2nd lap. Can he get himself any higher? He's been up there, but hasn't really been able to beat Mick and Michel in most races. As he crosses the line for his 2nd lap, that 19.9 drops to a 19.6, but it's not enough to improve his position. Eugenio Massa coming through as well, as he is currently sitting in 17th position right now. The Italian seeing what he can do, since we don't have Kanta here today, I believe. It looks like no better than 17th for Eugenio. Morrison going to be the next one to cross the line here, Johan.
Yeah, Morrison hasn't set a time yet today, but he's going through the last corner as we speak, going over the finish line. That's actually a really good lap, a 1:26. That puts him in P7 so far.
Now the Violet Wonder is going to have a nice starting position, though he's really got to work on his mistakes. Last season, he saw some great qualifying efforts that were almost cut out by him having early problems. Don West as well has not put a lap time in, but we're running out of time. I think this is going to be his last opportunity. Oh, what a big mistake coming through. The corkscrew is certainly not going to help the speed.
No, certainly not. And with only 30 more seconds to go, this will really be it for Don. Going to the last corner at the moment.
One of the good places for a pass in this car. Few opportunities to have a straightforward braking zone in the Lotus 49 here at Laguna Seca, and Don's time is going to be 23.3, good enough for 18th. With that, I believe that should be all of our qualifiers, so let's go through our starting order. Michel Dudignon on the pole, but only by a 10th over his main rival of recent time, Ove Trangrade, who completes our front row. Mick Claridge starting 3rd today, not looking as strong. He might not have had as much practice time as he would have wanted. Joni Kaijinen completes row 2 and 4th, and Michael Thomas starts 5th. Then Matt Wood coming over from the Lotus 79. They're mimicking the schedule this season of the Lotus 79 crew, and he's going to start 6th. Michael Morrison in 7th, and Frank Oosterhuis in 8th. Then Billy Bob Wright starts in P9, and top 10 is rounded out by Richard Moore. And Johan?
Paul Foster is the first driver on row 6, P11, next to Benjamin Soko. Tommy Miko Unhola in unlucky P13, next to Raymond Smith. Hideki Koivisto P15 in front of Andrew Eng, Peter Hebron, Don Good, and Eugenio Massa P19. Rounding out the top 20, David Alexander.
Then Randy Huff starts 21st, Gary Anderson 22nd, and Rodney Evans in 24th. He did not get a lap time. Neither did Nicholas Bournes. They're going to be starting at the tail end of the field in 23rd and 24th. Big field today for the Lotus 49s, so that F2 championship will certainly go to good use. They only score to, I believe it was 20th place, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, the first 20 drivers will score points, but obviously, like you just said, as long you probably see the F1 drivers in that top 20, so the F2 drivers will certainly score points if they just make it to the finish line.
Waiting for the lights to come up as all the cars grid. All we have left is Evans and Alexander waiting to get out there. Going to be tricky up and over this hill through turn 1. Very nefarious in this car, as in most cars it's flat out, not even really considered a turn by most people. Usually the braking for the hairpin of Andretti is the first corner for most cars, as the lights are now up. Engines start to rev, Green flag is out on round 1 in the Lotus 49 World Cup. And Michel Dudignon with a horrible start. He's got the car of Trangarade coming up his outside, and he's already passed him braking, but can he complete the pass around the outside of the Andretti hairpin? Can't quite. He'll have a nose, and he gets a better run off the corner down into turn 3. Still, it looks like the battle is on, and a big bobble was at McClarich off behind them. He returns to the course. That's going to give third to Kajanen. Finally, it settles out up front. Johan with Dudignon in P1.
Yeah, really exciting, but Dudignon had a great start so far, really good in P1, followed by over Trangarade. One good start as well for Joni Kajanen in P3 at the moment, having quite a gap to P4 Matt Wood, who is coming over from the Lotus 79, but has a strong showing so far in the first lap of this race.
Yeah, two very, very different cars, despite bearing the same marquee. And right now, he's trying to hold off Michael Thomas. Oh, who is that getting off into the dirt? That's Frank Oosterhuis. Looks like, oh, we got a big problem. Looks like
Stoko at contact.
Yep, and another car turned around. Looks like Andrew Ang is off. Ooh, we saw another car spinning as well. That was Paul Foster having problems, and more cars tumbling if we want to watch after this. That's Foster going off. Peter Hebron goes for an up and over. Ooh, saw someone else get up into the air as well. Very chaotic start, unusually chaotic start for this series, Johan. These guys tend to be known for clean racing.
Yeah, and especially with the new point structure, you would think that consistency and clean races and actually finishing will be rewarded even more. So the fact that we have several people out already with damage, that's certainly surprising.
We hop on board looking over the shoulder of Ove Trangarade. Now up into turn 5, giving chase on our leader, Michel Dudignon. You can see just how tough this car is around this track. But even Michel, known for his consistency, was able to miss the apex at turn 5. They head up to the corkscrew once again.
And Ove Trangarade is really tucked in behind him. I have the feeling that, like I said before, after practice, I didn't think that Michel would have problems in this race because of his really good long pace speed. But Ove is staying with him quite well. So if he can make a move and end up in front of his rival, that will really help him today.
Certainly not the start. As
whoa, gets really wide, and that offers chances to Yoshi Kajanen, who had a way better exit than Yoshi Kajanen, now goes to P2.
Wow, this has been a great race for Kajanen, having started 4th and now only a couple laps in, finds himself in the middle step of the podium. Mick Claridge has not recovered from his early incident yet. He's still sitting back in 5th, trying to hunt down newcomer Matt Wood. Boy, shuffled up field today. And Claridge, who had just a stonking season last time, especially at the start, taking win after win, is not looking like he's in the same form. Still a long race to go, though, only on lap 3 of 24.
Especially he has all the room and time left to battle his way forward. The moment he has in front of him Matt Wood, and it might be that Matt Wood, that's an interesting driver to look at, I think, Joe, because Matt Wood, of course, is a new driver in this series. So it might be that Mick will be able to use the experience that he obviously has in this car to get by his rival. I'm looking at him at the moment, he's really clean. Matt Wood taking a little, going wide here. Yeah, that's a move from Mick.
I was just about to say experience means a lot in the 49, and Wood obviously still has a little bit of practice to do. Let's look at the replay. Very wide at the apex, coming through the bank turn 10, and as he slides it through, does a good job collecting it at least and keeping it pointed forward.
Absolutely, it's a really easy car to lose. So the fact that he kept it in a straight line, that's really good of Matt, but he loses P4, of course. Still in front of, let's see, Frank Oosterhuis at the moment in P6. We saw him, of course, going slightly off track at the corkscrew in lap 1, but he recovered and is doing quite good lap times at the moment. He is closely followed by Billy Bob, William Wright in P7.
Yeah, despite his incident, he's taken advantage of some of the problems that other drivers have had. As he started in 8th, he's now in 6th. So really, he's made an improvement, even if he had a bit of a sketchy first lap. Also, to our viewers, yes, we are...
Sorry, Joe. Ove Trangarade went around after turn 6 He did not hit the wall. He's coming back. Ooh, really close to the other cars. He's back on track. We'll see it now here in the replay.
Yeah, it looks like he caught a little dirt on the exit, and those right wheels just looped him right around. Returns to the course, and unfortunately, that loss of position puts him all the way down to 7th and frees up Dudignon now to a gap of 1.82 seconds over Kaijinen.
Yeah, especially after Ove went a little bit loose a few laps ago in the last corner. I already wanted to say that Michael's probably the laughing third at this moment because he could immediately create a gap. But at the moment, Michel can probably just focus on his own race. He's really in the world on his own. And big gap behind him to P2.
Surprising amount of mistakes as everybody shakes off the rust from week 13. We've seen some very good drivers fall backwards in the early stages here. But Mick Claridge and that Lazy Man Racing Lotus 49, not lazy today as he's climbed back to a podium. And I'm sure our viewers have noticed the head glitch that has been going on. We are aware of that. Unfortunately, with the new build on iRacing, that's been something that's been happening. We can't really control at the moment, but we'll try and get them on that soon as we switch back to Matt Wood. Back in 9th, battle between Tommy Mikel Unhola and Benjamin Zoko, and Michael Morrison as well. Oh, the Violet Machine doing everything he can, takes a little bit of a peek on the Australian, but can't do anything for the moment.
Morrison had a great run coming out of the corkscrew, and he's really in the gearbox at the moment with Benjamin Soko. He isn't going to dare move into the last corner, but he's really tight there and less loose on throttle than Benjamin Soko. So Michael will surely get a better run over the start-finish straight. And this is a tricky corner, which is normally, as you said earlier, Joe, flat out. But here it's not, taking a wider line through the Andretti hairpin. Not quite able to put it side by side with Benjamin.
And that is paved off to that outside, so you can use that. And this car needs everything it can. Might give him an off course, though. They do have 17 incidents that they can deal with before they get disqualified in this series, but continues to hound Zoko through every corner.
One driver a little bit further down the field. Oh, I just wanted to say is back on track, Hideki Kofisto, but he stops again at the end of the pit exit. Hideki Kofisto, who was last season one of the most consistent drivers there was unfortunately involved in an...
Oh, we just saw Ove have another off, and in the same corner. A little bit different method, though. He kept it on the pavement. Woo. Oh, wow, that was a big slide. A good job catching it.
He lost one position, though, to Richard Mori, who's now on P7.
Wonder if he's using mix set, because Mick Claridge known for liking a very loose car. And now he's trying to work his way back forward as he chases down Morin for that 7th position. They come up and over the crest for turn 1. Not going to be close enough for a dive into Andretti this time.
Talking about Mick Claridge. Mick Claridge is... Oh.
Sorry, and Richard Morin went wide, so he gets the position anyways. Sorry, go ahead.
That's a new vote. No, you were saying about Mick Claridge, and I'm following at the moment. He closed the gap to Yoji Kaijinen for P2, and he's right on the gearbox right now as we speak, going through turn 6, going towards the corkscrew, going a little bit wide, but Mick Claridge surely showing the pace, especially slightly quicker than Yoni is at the moment. So he will, I think, really try his best to get that P2 position from the Finnish driver soon.
Certainly going to start slathering the pressure on. And you were talking to me a little bit about last season's race, because I had forgotten this. This was where Michel lost the championship last year. So even if Mick gets up into 2nd, this is almost an emotional victory for Michel today if he gets this.
Absolutely. It must probably feel like he has something to prove out there today. But at the moment, it's a little bit like last season. Yeah, he had quite a big gap in P1 when everything went wrong. So if he wins today, it will not only be a great victory for him in the bet for the championship this season, but also an emotional victory. Billy Bob gained one position last lap. Frank Oosterhuis went a little bit wide through the corkscrew. Billy Bob went past him. So Billy Bob in P5, Frank Oosterhuis demoted to P6.
Billy Bob, of course, we've seen lots of improvement from him. Used to be a bit more of a mid-pack driver. Lately, he's been fighting for podiums. Not so today, but a top 5 certainly going to get him a nice haul of points here at the start of the season.
Michael Morrison is trying an overtake on Tommy Mikael Unhola. That's a really good outbraking maneuver. A little bit, he goes wide though, Morrison, and that's because Tommy is a lot cleaner. He can take a little bit more speed in turn 5 and get the position back. But Michael Morrison has really putting on the pressure on Tommy in the last laps.
Well, he's got a good run on him, but it's so hard to pass up into the corkscrew. He's not brave enough to try it. He's going to stay in line with Benjamin Zoko. They're following the pair of them. For anybody wondering about that pink paint scheme, well, that's actually the official colors of Egypt that they used to use when they painted the cars according to nation back in the 60s.
I did not know this.
Oh, here we go. Gets a nice run down into the final hairpin. Outbrakes him into the corner. Nice and tight into the apex, but can he gun it off the corner? Here comes Unhola back at him. The Finn finds more grip. And once again, for the second time in a single lap, he gets the position back. Oh, strong on the brake, though, for Morrison's.
Yeah, but he's really tidy, hitting both apexes in the hairpin, and he's really away now. Good overtake from him for P9.
Took him a couple corners, but finally gets it done. Now he sets his sights on Richard Morin ahead of them for P8.
Yeah, and behind him, Benjamin Soko is closing the gap really quickly to Tommy, because Tommy went wide 2 corners in a row, or went loose 2 corners in a row, and that closed the gap immediately to Benjamin.
Trying through turn 5. Go ahead.
Trying it now in turn 5, but Tommy has probably overheated the tires a little bit, but has cooled them down. He's hitting his apexes again, and he's driving away a little bit from Benjamin as we speak.
Oh, and we're understanding something's up with Billy Bob. Oh, as he's at a battle right now. This is with Trangrade, who's on a recovery drive. Trangrade goes very wide, can't find the grip out in the dirt, and has to settle down back into 7th. Recovers as they come down into 11, but can't find a way past Billy Bob.
Yeah, and the sharp viewers will have seen that Frank Oosterhuis passed Billy Bob. It's because Billy Bob went wide in turn 6 last lap around, so he lost quite a bit of time. Frank passed him, and at the moment Ove passes him as well on the start-finish straight.
Not what we're used to seeing from Billy Bob, as he continues to slip backwards. And Ove on a reverse course, moving forwards, now up into 6th. Been so much shuffling through the field with those incidents at the start as we watch this battle between Zoko and Unhola, and Zoko's got it now.
Yeah, good overtake from Soko, and I'm curious to see what his pace is in clean air, if he's able to drive forward to the people in front of him, to Richard Morin and Michael Morrison, because he's been showing good pace so far. We're curious to see how far he can get during this race.
As we watch this battle, Mick Claridge has been continuing to hold behind the car of Kaijinen. We mentioned at the start how difficult it is to pass around here, and while other drivers making mistakes in the back have offered up our opportunities, Kaijinen has done no such thing for the Brit.
No, absolutely. It's a little bit like they're on a rubber band with each other. Like one lap the gap increases a little bit, the next lap it decreases again. And at the moment, the gap is really close, almost right on his gearbox. If you go a little bit towards our leader, Michael de Jong has shown incredible pace so far. I'm looking at his lap times at the moment, but it's really tight in the 119s, 120, almost half a second quicker than his rivals per lap. So if you can just keep it clean and keep it out of the walls, I think Michael de Jong has a really good shot at getting the victory today.
Right on board with Claridge, struggling to get that car to hold on to the tail of Joni Kaijinen's Koff machine. A big slide by Kaijinen through turn 6, and still Claridge not able to take advantage. We're nearly halfway through this race already. Wow, Mick Claridge just chucking it in to the corkscrew. He is wheeling this machine at this point.
He really wants to go past Yoshi Kaijinen. Maybe he still has the feeling that if I get past Joni at the moment, I can still put Michael under a little bit of pressure before the finish flag drops.
And now we missed it as we were watching this, but Andrew Ang was able to get past Eugenio Massa, and that is for 13th position. He's since extended that gap quite a fair ways. And big moment through turn 1 as we watch this battle continue, and this time he gets it as Mick Claridge sends it up the inside of Andretti, but it's not done yet. Kajanen comes back at him as the track switches back through turn 3, carrying the speed around the outside. Claridge denies him.
Beautiful move from Claridge there, and I'm looking a little bit further back between Frank Oosterhuis and Billy Bob while they have a kerfuffle in turn 2. Frank Oosterhuis went a little bit wide in the last corner. That sent Trangerade past him, but in turn 1 Trangerade went wide again. So Frank Oosterhuis is back to P5 as we speak, and Billy Bob got past Ove in P6.
Keeping the folks in timing and scoring on their toes are these three. Oosterhuis, as you said, leading the way in that 5th position. Now they come up through turn 6 as they're all three in a line. A bad exit by Billy Bob, and Ove all over his tailpipe. But once again, we see drivers not quite brave enough. Oh, but maybe Billy Bob is, as he accidentally sends it up the inside through the corkscrew. Is able to woe the car up without clattering into Oosterhuis, but that loses him all kinds of time.
Wow, what a move. And also great spatial awareness from Frank Oosterhuis right there to steering a little bit later than he probably would have liked and miss Billy Bob's car, because otherwise he probably would have turned his car around there.
Wonder if we could get an onboard of Ove with the excitement that we're seeing with these guys. Let's just listen to what it's like trying to wheel these cars around and watch his hands. You can see just how active the hands are in this car, even on straightaways at times, as a defensive move down into turn 5. Billy Bob Wright feeling under threat as the Norwegian tries everything he can and nothing working.
Yeah, you see a defensive move. I'm not so sure if it was a defensive move or an offensive move there from Billy Bob, because they're so close. Going a little bit slower through turn 6, and that, going wide on the straight there.
Car squirming. Oh, wow. Way up the outside goes Ove Trangerade and still can't do anything, but he completes the move on Billy Bob. And Oosterhuis somehow keeping ahead of both of these fools.
Frank Oosterhuis is probably thinking, like, keep battling that like that, guys. I can just get away if you can just keep going on like this.
Well, great stuff for these three, and this is all for a top 5 spot. This isn't even for a podium that we're seeing between these three great drivers as they come down to turn 2 yet again. They're actually not too far behind Paul Foster, who's a lapped car, so that could throw a wrench in the mix.
Talking about another wrench in the mix, Michael Morrison is, I think, 2-3 seconds behind him as we speak, and he was half a second quicker last lap around. So if these three keep battling as we do, we're not looking at a 3-car battle, we're looking at a 4-car battle for P5.
Up ahead, nothing has changed between Claridge and Kajanen since they have had their moment, as Claridge is just holding station a few tenths ahead of Kajanen. But they are continuing to lose ground to Dudagnon. It's now 5.5 seconds. So despite Claridge finally getting past, they apparently were not being held up by Kajanen. Ten laps to go as we watch Dudagnon slide that rear end around of turn 2. We jump back to the battle for 5th. As Trangerade now setting his sights on Oosterhuis. He gets a good run out of the final corner. They're going to climb over the hill. Oosterhuis covers off the inside. What's going to happen down into Andretti? Way off into the dirt goes Trangerade. Somehow gets the car woed up in time. Is that going to open the door for the Floridian of Billy Bob? Not quite.
Now, Ove had a great run out of the last corner, but I think he had to brake a little bit at that moment to not catch up. Oh, and Hola spun we saw behind him in P10.
Goes all by himself. So easy to do into this corner. The car is so unsettled by that crest, Johan.
Yeah, just a little bit too much speed, maybe a little bit too late on the brakes, and he loses 1 position to, I think, Richard Morin.
Yeah, Morin had the chance to try and slip through. As we jump back to this battle for 5th, once again, the battle that just won't quit. Remember, Trangarade had problems early in the race, and that set him backwards, so he's trying to climb through, but really, Billy Bob Wright and Oosterhuis are fighting for what is genuine position for their pace, I should say, as Oosterhuis has a slide coming out of Rainy Curve, and this is going to put him on the back foot. Here comes Trangarade around the outside of the final hairpin, can't get it tucked into the apex, and that hurts him on the run to the line.
Yeah, especially another lap with Frank Oosterhout in front. Now looking behind him, Michael Morrison is closing the 3 down ever so slightly. The gap between Michael Morrison and the rest of the group is 1 second now.
Yeah, we saw on screen Billy Bob Wright getting that car all sideways coming through Andretti hairpin, and that sends him backwards. So now it's just 2 fighting for this 5th position, at least momentarily, between Trangarade and Oosterhuis. We look over the shoulder of the Norwegian once again, not on the attack this time, down into 5.
And they're so close. The Dutch driver has the slightly worse exit at the moment out of turn 5. Always not in a position to try it here in turn 6. Both get a little bit loose in turn 6 though.
A little bit of a peek from Trangarade, but nothing doing. Oh, and Mick Claridge has a problem. Mick Claridge out of turn 10. He loses that 2nd position. You're going to see the wheels get off into the dirt. Tries to catch it, but overcorrects. Car whips around him, and that red cough machine just zooms by. Watching from on board the UK&I driver. Oh, he knows it went wrong as soon as it happened. Tries to catch it.
And we're really talking about centimeters here, because his tires were barely on the gravel there, just centimeters, and he still went around. Unlucky for Mick at the moment, but good news for Jonan, who's back in P2.
Uncharacteristic day for Mick Claridge, as he looked at potentially a 2nd place, but now might have to settle for 3rd. We look at this battle for 5th yet again. Trangarade not able to get past Oosterhuis, and now Billy Bob has recovered and regained ground. A look to the inside by Trangarade down into 5, but not a serious attempt as he's denied by Frank.
And this caused Billy Bob to quietly catch up to the pair again.
And now you can see that violet machine, Michael Morrison, is absolutely in the fray. All accordion together through the corkscrew. So how aggressive are we going to see Morrison as he sits in 8th?
They're coming up to lap traffic as we speak. Nicholas Borns, who's currently driving in P17, having a quiet race, just a little bit behind Gary Anderson. Will be lapped by the quartet of drivers momentarily.
How about the job by the Benelux driver of Oosterhuis? Just been unflappable this whole time by a gaggle of cars all trying to get past him, and nobody seems to be able to do anything with him.
And he really keeps his cool. I wanted to say the same thing, Joe. He has been so cool, so relaxed today. And no matter if Over tries it left, right, up or down, he just tries to drive his own lines. And it seems to be working great so far. With only 7 laps to go, he's really holding strong. And I think he really needs to be pushed into a mistake while Over tries it around the outside of turn 5.
This could be his best opportunity. Oh, but he slides off out in the marbles.
Yeah, not if you go loose like that, and that gives a chance to Billy Bob. Oh, this would be great news for Frank Oosterhuis if he passes. Yeah, good move from Billy Bob there. But it also goes wide.
Billy Bob getting slippery himself, and now he might lose out to Morrison. Oh, but he comes together with him. Contact between the cars. They both hold it together, and they're back in the order they were at the start of the lap. Oh, mistake from Oosterhuis. Commentator's curse. We'll come back to it just as we go to replay. This is the incident, and now if we go up to Oosterhuis, what happened here in Rainy? Oh, car on entry just got loose on him, Johan.
It's almost like he steered in too early, tried to maybe brake a little bit in the middle of the corner, but what a disappointing turn of event of Frank. We're on board with him as we speak. Just as he tries, the car just slips away from under him. Hard break for Frank.
Yeah, commentators curse there after we were praising his good pace and his great defense. In the meantime, I think there was a mistake coming out of Andretti from Morrison that set him backwards as he deals with traffic there through turn 4, not the place you want to catch him. So all that action has now split apart the battle finally. Your order is Trangrade up to 5th. Billy Bob gets promoted to 6th with Oosterhuis having that spin, and Morrison promoted to 7th.
Yeah, but the battle is not over yet. With 6 more laps to go, I think that some of these drivers have shown quicker pace than the others. So I think that Frank might even be able to close the gap to the people in front. And Michael has also been quick in the latter stages of the race. So he might be able to close the gap to Billy Bob.
We jump up to take a peek at our leader because we haven't checked in with a Frenchman in a while. Dudagnon has now extended the gap to a little over 8 seconds. And Oosterhuis has had another problem, and it's in the same place.
Yeah, he was lapping traffic. He was lapping Nicolas in the corkscrew corner, and he just got loose on the exit and swung his car around into the wall.
Disappointment, and Andrew Ang behind him as well. This is out of turn 6. Ooh. Car just almost got it about 3 times, and eventually it went around. With nobody around, he just does a little pirouette, brings it back to the track. He's still in 13th.
Yeah, and Frank Oosterhuis, we just saw him spinning out of the corkscrew. He's in the pits at the moment. He is stopping as we speak in his pit stall. We'll be curious to see if he's able to continue after maybe getting some few repairs. But
we've had a few DNFs today. We should point out Hideki Koivisto, Michael Thomas, Rodney Evans, David Alexander. I know Peter Hebron is still in the pits. I don't know if he plans to return to the track. Same thing with the car of Randy Huff. And meanwhile, on screen, Ove Trangrade and Billy Bob Bright in a battle for position. Billy Bob making a big mistake out of the corkscrew, and now he's side by side with Morrison. And Morrison takes advantage, slips himself into 6th.
Yeah, great move by Morrison there, really capitalizing on the mistake of his rivals. I'd be curious to see if Morrison can keep the speed up and close the gap to Ove, because Ove, as usual, is one of the quicker cars on track, but he hasn't been that clean today. We've seen a few mistakes of him, so if Michael can keep it clean, he might be able to make a better P5 one behind him. Billy Bob braked a little bit too late, almost went into the back of Michael Morrison, but made an averting move at the last moment and kept his car out of his rivals.
I can tell you from experience, Billy Bob does not like to have any contact with other cars. He does everything he can to try and ruin somebody else's race, like we saw there. So even though he lost some time, he's probably glad to at least keep racing with 4 laps to go. He's going to have a little bit of a chance to try and gun him down again. But with that means that our drivers are splitting apart a little bit. So why don't we run through our order here at the tail end of the race, starting with our leader of Michel Dudagnon, up by 8.5 seconds here with 3 laps to go. Joni Kaijinen, boy, come back with a vengeance. Hasn't been the fastest out there, but has certainly shown that his consistency has helped him. Sits in 2nd place over Mick Claridge. Oh, and another problem with Billy Bob Wright. Where did he go? He's
exit of the corkscrew, I think.
Wow, no, Rainy Curve is
Rainy Curve, yeah.
Cars seem a little loose coming down the hill through there. We're going to watch it one more time from on board.
Yeah, it was Ove who in front went a little bit wide through the corkscrew, so he was losing his speed through Rainy Curve, and that I think caught Billy Bob out as he had more momentum going into that corner, and yeah, to basically compensate for that, he had to step on the brakes and he lost his car there.
So Kaijinen, as we mentioned, in 2nd. Behind him, Mick Claridge in 3rd with a unusually mistake-riddled day. But a podium will at least get him a few points, so not too bad. Matt Wood very much has surprised us, going from the high downforce Lotus 79, and the low downforce 49 has suited him quite well, sitting in 4th. Michael Morrison, the Egypt machine, has managed to get up to 5th now, as he's finally overtaken Ove Trangrade. In fact, I think we missed that pass at some point. Trangrade sits in 6th, with Billy Bob Wright behind them after his recent spin, now tumbling to 7th. Benjamin Zocco sits in 8th, another driver who's been trying to come back forward. He's followed by Richard Morin in 9th, and Tommy Unhola rounds out our top 10. What's the next 10 look like there, Johan?
In 11th at the moment, we see Raymond Smith making up 3 positions since the starting position in front of Andrew Eng. Raymond and Andrew are the first lap drivers at the moment. Don Good is currently P13. Have a good race, making up 5 positions since the start, really profiting from the mistakes of other drivers in front of Eugenio Massa, who is currently 14th. Nicolas Borns, we just saw him being lapped and some mayhem happening behind him. Himself is having a quiet race at the moment. 15th at the moment, making up 9 places if I calculate it correctly. Doing good so far. Gary Anderson in 16th, and yeah, after that is the drivers who unfortunately retired so far.
And now, as the white flag comes out, we turn our attention to Michel Dudignon. Haven't really given him a whole lot of screen time as he locks him up slightly coming through Andretti, but really no harm, no foul there. We ride on board, watching the maestro weave his way through the California dirt. Up through turn 4 now, very fast right-hander. Settles the car. Brings it across the track now for turn 5 as the car compresses, heading uphill towards the very scary turn 6, which has caught a number of drivers out today. Let's see if the Frenchman can do it one more time. Slides a little bit, but gets it through safely. Practically a victory lap here for Michel Dudignon, up into the notorious corkscrew, down the hill, plunging as he weaves his way through rainy curve, rowing through the gears. 2 corners to go, through 10 now. And the final hairpin, Michel Dudignon may have thrown away the championship last season, but he kicks off this one with the best position possible. Pole to win for Michel Dudignon.
Yeah, beautiful, dominating victory by Michel Dudignon. But if you go back a little bit further, it's not over in lap 5. Over Trangerate is trying to get a pass on the corkscrew in the last lap on Michael Morrison. He's on the outside going through the dipper. Not able to make it on the first one. Oh, they hit each other, it seems like. But Ove is in front though, going through rainy curve.
Oh, they managed to keep going. And Michael's not giving up on him. He's going to get one more bite of the apple. And he's got a good run out of turn 10. Ove doesn't go defensive. He gives him the inside line, but Michael has nothing for him. Maybe off the corner. No, he spins the tires. Ove is going to take that coveted P5 that so many drivers wanted throughout this race.
Certainly
what a battle.
What a battle, exactly. Certainly exciting end to the finish like that. Heartbreak for Michael Morrison, who almost had his P5, almost a top 5 finishing position, and losing it there on the final lap, but still making up a position from his starting position. So good work in the end from Michael.
We see Richard Morin with a nice top 10 there today. As saw someone doing donuts there in celebration. I think that was Billy Bob Wright having some fun. And Tommy Unhola going to be the last car on the lead lap, completing our top 10 as well. So with that, we're going to go to break. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews. And on screen, you're going to see all the upcoming races here on GSRC. welcome back to Laguna Seca, where we just watched round one of the Lotus 49 World Cup. Michel Dudignon kicks off his championship hunt with a win. We'll see if he can continue this momentum throughout the season. Joni Kajanen as well, getting himself a good start with second place. And Mick Claridge, after being so dominant last season, starts it off with a third. A number of mistakes cost him what could have been second place. Not sure if he had the pace for the win, though. Matt Wood finished in fourth, coming over from the 79. Well, I think he's going to be one to watch. I hope that Matt sticks around for the rest of the season. Ove Trangarade had to really fight for fifth, probably hoping for more as he started on the front row. But unfortunately, another driver suffering from mistakes today, Michael Morrison, going from 7th to 6th, but he was all up and down the order in the meantime. Billy Bob Wright, similarly, all over the place. He finishes in 7th today. Benjamin Zocco, nice run from 12th to 8th for him. And Richard Morin finishing 9th. Tommy Unhola rounds out our top 10. Johan?
Another driver with a good run today was Raymond Smith, finishing in P11 in front of Andrew Eng, both one lap down. Don't tell me something good in P13 in front of Eugenio Massa, who finished 14 today. Nicholas Borns and Gary Anderson were P15 and P16. And after that, we see the first drivers who didn't have such a good afternoon, who had some unfortunate events happening along the way. Frank Oosterhuis with a great run battling for the top 5 positions, finishes 6 laps down in P17 in front of Paul Foster, Randy Huff, and Peter Hebron in 20th.
Neki Koivu still comes home 21st with Michael Thomas 22nd. Disappointment for Michael Thomas today. David Alexander 23rd and Rodney Evans in 24th. With that, we've got some of our finishers today, including Michael Morrison, who came home with 6. Let's talk to him about that almighty battle in the latter half of the race. Michael, you brought the Egyptian machine home in 6, but you certainly had to fight for it. Talk to us about all the back and forth that you had with those 3 other drivers at the end of the race.
I think, I passed 6 drivers independently. I almost passed them out, Billy Bob, in I think lap 2 or 3, and then I got a slowdown, and that's what put me so far back. But yeah, that was most overtaking I've done for a long time. It was just a lot of wild and unexpected events, all interconnected. It was a thrill.
Yeah, and this track is known for its lack of passing opportunities, or at least if there are, they're very difficult to get the car steady under braking. Were you kind of ruining that and thinking you'd have a hard time? Did you do better than you thought as far as on that recovery drive?
I did about as well as I could, as well as I thought. Kind of. I was helped a lot by the Oosterhuis train up ahead, and that's what it was able to let me catch up to Billy Bob and Uwe. I butchered his name, and Above one overtake that really surprised me in this race was actually Uwe's on me the last lap. I got through the corner almost as fast as I have done the entire race, and he still managed to get a run and get alongside me during a braking zone. So, yeah, I really gave him just enough room to make it, and he was just a little bit wide on the second apex of a corkscrew, and that little contact made me get out of her throttle. And yeah, it was a small racing incident in the end of the day, and just really hard racing between me and him, and before that, Billy Bob.
Well, you certainly gave us some excitement, and hope to see you back next round.
Yeah, will do.
That was Michael Morrison, 6th place finisher today. In the meantime, Johan is caught up with the driver who came home behind him. That is Billy Bob Wright.
Yeah, Billy Bob was one of the other drivers in that amazing battle for P5. Billy, I hope you get a copy. How was it out there today? Because it looked really exciting from our point of view.
Billy Bob, you got a copy?
Not hearing anything from Billy Bob at the moment.
Well, we'll get... Oh, there we go. Now we got him. Go ahead, Johan.
How was it out there, Billy Bob? You had a great battle for P5. We just spoke with Michael Morrison. Tell us a little bit about your point of view.
Well, got a kind of oddity going on here because my audio is coming out of my Rift speakers, and I'm talking to you on my Logitech headset. So a lot of strange things going on in that race, guys. First, I just got to say, woo, man, that was one of the most exciting, intense races I've ever had. It was kind of reminded me of a girl I knew in high school, man. I was never so scared and having so much fun at one time.
That's really good to hear, at least. So tell us a little bit about the battles. Like you were all the time together, with so close with Ove, with Michael, with the other drivers. Like you finished P7 in the end. Are you happy with that, starting from P9, or are you just happy that you had the experience of all these battles today?
Well, I'm going to take the experience because I'm not happy with that finish, but it was well worth it just to experience all of that. I mean, I got to say, the reason I'm a reference and I'm continuing to have technical issues is that my Rift kept crawling off center, and I had to reset it at least a couple of times a lap. It was like it was like I was driving at like a 20 or 30 degree angle to the straight line of the car, so I was kind of driving it sideways. And so that made it incredibly difficult to keep reference, and that's why I kept making mistakes. And anyway, I don't care. I mean, Frank, number one, what a great race for him, and it's just a shame that he lost it there at the end. For me, it came down to having to do that reset constantly, which once I figured out what to do, it wasn't that much of a problem. But then I lost the tires. I just threw something at the weather we had. I had no idea what to do with it. I lost the tires big time with 3 to go. I was happy just to sit behind Uwe there with 3 to go, but then he made that huge mistake, and so I tried to shove it in there, and that didn't work out. But still a lot of fun. One of the most fun races I've ever done. I can't wait to see the broadcast on this one.
Awesome. That's really good to hear. It was absolutely incredibly exciting from our point of view. And next week we're going to Belgium. We're going to Spa-Francorchamps. Is it a track where you're probably able to fight like this as well?
I've had a lot of success there. I'm looking forward to that. It's a fun track for me. I really like driving this car there, and sometimes due to luck, sometimes due to having a good set, I've always done well there. So looking forward to it. But I'm even looking more forward to going and watching this broadcast, guys. I'm sure it's a good one.
Very good. Well, awesome to hear from you, Billy Bob. I hope to see you next week. Have a good one.
You too, guys. Thanks a lot.
Billy Bob. And in the meantime, Joe caught with our P3 finisher of today, Mick Claridge.
We've got Mick Claridge with us. And Mick, I have to ask, with that first incident that put you off course in lap 1, did that set the tone for your race? Mick, you got a copy? Looks like we have a couple people with technical problems today. We'll give Mick a second to see if he can get his mic sorted out here. Wait to see if Mick, do you got a copy now? Looks like Mick is still not able to get that together. So with that, let's talk to Tommy Unhola, as he had an interesting race as well, getting a top 10 today. Tommy, I have to ask, are you proud of the top 10? That'll get you a nice score of points with the new system.
Yeah, top 10 is very good, but I don't know if I'm proud. It was not so good race from me, but I had really much fun. Don't remember last time I had so much fun in 49, so it was good race about that, and top 10 is good, so I'm happy in the end.
I saw a couple drivers talking about the weather. Did that throw you off, or did you like the way the weather turned out today with the overcast conditions, or were you not happy with that?
No, it's not so bad. It feels better than last season, maybe. I have not had so much practice now, but maybe it's better. But I like more hot tracks with every car, and it's just better. It was nicely slippery now, so you could slide and do fun stuff, but I lost it a couple of times. It was maybe tires of maybe driver, I don't know. Lost a bit of concentration also.
You weren't the only one to make mistakes out there today, so I wouldn't feel too bad. There was a lot of issues for even top drivers, but still top 10, nothing to be ashamed of. We'll hope to see you next week.
Yeah, I will be there. One of my favorite tracks, so expecting to be better there.
All right. Yeah, a lot of drivers' favorite tracks. Very popular one spot in this car. That's Tommy Unhola, who finishes 10th today. And sounds like Johan was working with Mick's mic, and now we've got the law of working. So, Johan, why don't you talk to our third place finisher?
Mick, I hope you get a copy. Good afternoon to you. How was it out there? You finished P3, starting in P3. It seemed like you had good pace today. Are you happy with how it went today?
Oh, can you hear me all right now?
Yeah, we can hear you perfectly.
Oh, cool, Johan. Yeah, it was so tough out there because of the weather. You know, we've been practicing all week in hot weather. I had one session earlier where it was cold, and I didn't do anything for the setup. I just thought there's no way it's going to be a cold race, and then it hits us. But so it was a little bit messy. God, what a race that was. Turn 2, is it the right hander, the first right hander? I don't know what turn it is, but I turned in, and John was right next to me. I didn't even know he was next to me because I'm using the Rift. He didn't even look, and so I didn't know he was there. I went into the apex, and then I saw his front wheel, and then I thought I better turn left a bit here and miss him, you know. And then and then it just seemed like the seas parted in front of me. You know, everyone was either spinning off or slow out of a corner or whatever. But it got, really easy to catch up to Yoni again. And but I knew that was going to be tough trying to get past him. And then breaking down into turn 1, that was pretty scary. You know, the car was all over the place. I don't know if you caught that pass on the broadcast, but my car was all over the place. I was steering left and right, just trying to get it to stop, and get the apex, and then the stupid spin. There you go.
Yeah, that happens. Like we saw on the broadcast, a lot of people were having problems with little spins during the race. Now, one of the things you just mentioned is the cold weather. Like, you practiced and you probably prepared your setup for warm weather. How does the car feel differently in an overcast, cold track like this? Like, what exactly changes?
Well, what happens is it's sort of like a bit of a lottery, and you're not sort of sure how it's going to handle. You know you're going to have loads more grip. So, I mean, in the 49, you have to drop the tyre pressures down. Just because that's the way it is, to stop them overheating. They overheat in the cold weather if you use different tyre pressures. I won't go into that. It's a long story. But so you have to change the tyre pressures, and then sometimes the car feels a bit more snappy. Sometimes, but it's a lot faster. It's a hell of a lot faster, and it just catches you out sometimes. You turn into apexes, like the turn. I don't know what the turn is called, but the one under the bridge where you hit that left-hand apex. It's so easy to just take too much of that and just smash straight into that curb, and come off. I think Uwe did it, or getting on the power. And you get a lot more snap on the oversteer, when you give it too much throttle. That's why I spanned, because I just gave it too much out of that corner. It just snaps on you like that, It's a real hard thing, especially if you're not used to it. If you've had a couple of days where you've had a couple of cold sessions, you're used to it, But there you go. Some people ain't, Some people can just drive in that sort of stuff, like Michelle.
Yeah, exactly. Michelle obviously had a great drive. Next week we're going to Belgium. Next week we're going to Spa-Francorchamps. Time for a rematch then? Time to get back on the podium, top podium position?
I'll tell you what, Spa, I will be happy if I can be on the podium at Spa. It's my worst track by far. I always stink at Spa. So if you see me on the podium, I will be so happy.
I'm noting that down. That's one of the things we'll look for next week. Thank you very much for talking with us, Mick. I'll see you then.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, it's great to be back as well. Thanks.
That was Mick Claridge, third place finisher today here in the Lotus 49. Obviously, a little bit of mock frustration, but I'm sure there's a tinge of realness to that, as they've been longtime friendly rivals out on track. But we're going to close up today. And of course, we want to thank Ben Zocco and the Lotus 49 community for returning once again to allow GSRC to cover this series. And thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Johan, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check us out on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at /Global SimRacing Channel, and now on Instagram as well at GSRC_RAM. The next race, as was mentioned, we're going to Spa. That'll be Saturday, March 24th at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.